Are we ready, Chris?
We're ready to go.
All
You're
right.
on.
Wow,
Right.
we're live.
We're live.
Mike's hot.
Mike's hot. It's hot.
Little hot on my side.
Hey, welcome back to the Brookfield Group's podcast. Today I am with Daniel again.
Hello.
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 We are going to be talking about a couple of things today. We're going to talk about something called shadow IT, which is a hot topic today.
That's supposed to be
Everything
a
hot.
shadow.
Everything hot. Oh, like how you do that rabbit thing. I'm not good at
We have too much
puppets.
light in here to be able to do that. Chris got rid of all the shadows in here.
And then from that, we're going to kind of go into something called layered security. So first,
Like an onion?
Very similar to an onion, believe it or not.
Interesting.
Yeah. So first, let's define what is shadow IT.
You want to take a stab at it?
Yes. So it is when people put things on their devices that their IT company does not know they have on there. And partly how this evolved is from people having all the heartburn of having to go through their IT department to get anything approved, all the way back to when you had to get the CD and like install apps that way. But it has really blossomed like an blossom.
Like an onion blossom?
No, I'm going to go with exploded. Exploded is better
exploded.
because it's
Exploded.
kind of a bad thing. One, with bring your own devices to work, and
BYOD.
two, BYOD. The pandemic, with everybody working remote, they're home. They want to change, or add. They found an app that's really going to help them organize something. So, hey, I'm just going to download
All those
it.
ads you get for like Monday.com and what we got Notion Nation out there somewhere probably.
Ooh, I don't know that one. Notion Nation. And then I am guilty of this next one. Using, like I have all of my work apps on my home computer, and sometimes I'll be like, oh, I'll just hop on, I'm watching TV and surfing, I don't know, kitchen islands, let's just say. And it's like, oh, this
Weird.
thing came up from work. So let me just do this real quick. And then I'll just email it to myself. Then that's causing a lot of problems too. Am I close?
Yeah, I think roll credits, you want to end the stream. I think we got all of it there. So
No,
We'll just,
there's plenty.
just move on. I don't think I need to say anything. Next topic.
Okay, next
Okay.
topic is.
No, yeah. I mean, we see it a lot. There's plenty of awesome apps out there, but not all apps are, approved by a company or by their security standards or things like that. I know a common one that a lot of people probably use are like Slack or Discord or something like that is sometimes mixed personal and business use a lot of times. Different applications that'll show up there, when you start looking at app marketplaces, like whether it's the Windows App Store or you're just going around and you see a free trial or things like that, it's really easy to turn it on. It ends up being why a lot of individual users have admin rights on their machine when maybe they probably shouldn't, because they can download things. You can download good things just as easily as you can download bad things. And so sometimes things will hide themselves as a Slack install, and it's not really just a Slack install. So, if there is an app that you have to install for whatever reason, making sure that it's secure and actually the app that you're intending to install is a big deal. And then I know it can be a headache or an inconvenience, or however you want to define it, as something negative when you're having to wait to get something installed or get something improved. But most of the time, the reason for that waiting is because someone or a company is trying to do what's best for you and for the organization to keep everyone protected. So it's definitely a hot topic of conversation, and sometimes it also results in costs that the company's not knowing that they're paying for. So whether you work for a company and you're expensing it and it's just getting through, those dollars, you might be doing it, someone else, those dollars can really add up. So a lot of times if we see things like that, we're called in because someone's seen it on the financials at this point that they're like, hey, we're spending X amount in IT things that we don't actually use. Like, well, somebody's using it and they're just expensing it somewhere along the way. So, picking a technology stack and sticking with it as much as possible can save you a lot of money as well as keep you more secure.
And not all of it's bad. I mean, if
Yeah,
it's
no,
a decent
definitely.
app
Yeah.
and 2 or 3 people have downloaded and used it, there could be actually cost savings if the company decides, hey, we're going to embrace this and we're going to get the enterprise license and now everybody's going to have this. But I wonder if a lot of people are just under the assumption that their virus software, whatever they have on their laptop, is going to protect them from any malicious app that they would download.
Most of the time it would hopefully do that depending on what antivirus you're using. Using next gen antivirus that's checking signatures and how it's actually accessing your computer. Is it opening up or a PowerShell in the background or things like that? Should catch it, but there are plenty of people that are just using, say, Windows Defender or some type of antivirus that's not checking for that type of install, and it could be totally benign from a scan from that standpoint, but then it's actually doing something later on in the background, putting a foothold in or something along those lines. So,
has there been a famous one? Not that I know of, but like a one that people have downloaded and it didn't happen for a while, and then all of a sudden,
I don't know. Chris, can you do a Google search on that? Let's see what's out there. I don't know off the top of my head. There's got to be one. I would imagine. Yeah, I know a lot of there's more security around defending the SaaS environment of things. So like if there's a malicious file sitting innate in your OneDrive or Dropbox or Google Drive or something like that, that might not have it might not be doing anything malicious right away, but then you go and click on it later, then it can just all of a sudden launch, and that could just not even be on your machine at that point. It's just in the cloud. So I'm sure there's something along those lines that's come up over the years.
I'm doing a search here.
Okay.
Yeah, I did read that that's another big problem is there so many of the apps, almost all of them now, I guess, are cloud-based.
Mm-hmm.
So makes it easy to download, easy to get something bad off of it.
Especially if you have bad passwords.
Yes.
Or you use the same password.
Yes. So we're going
Foreshadowing.
to So next week, we're really going to be diving into passwords. I've got a very cool infographic that I did that talks about the problems with password, how many people are negligent in changing their passwords, use the same one or the famous ones.
Do you use a password manager?
I do not. That is on my list by the end of the year.
I should not have asked that question. Sorry.
But I will tell
Can
you
you edit
this.
that out, Chris?
Done.
I would
Perfect.
say I don't have a duplicate password to anything.
You add a number at the end of each one.
No,
Yeah.
I had exclamation point or $sign. No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm able to remember the majority of them, believe it or not. And so far, knock on wood, which is not very good to do, I've not had any problems with it, but I do need a password manager by the end of the year. What would you suggest?
I use Dashlane personally.
Dashlane.
Chris, can you put my my referral link, my referral code up on screen?
Do you have a T-shirt or
Yeah.
coffee mug or something?
Throw my QR code or something there. I use Dashlane currently. LastPass is a big one. 1Password. There's quite a few out there. Google is really pushing their one built in directly into Chrome browser that now ties into their new phones and their whole security hub craziness. There you go. Dashlane. Take control of your data. They're moving all online browser only option. So no physical app on your computer anymore. So additional layers of security there.
Interesting.
I've been pretty happy with it. Get the premium version, gives you credit check, can do some, credit locking as well as checking like if you've been compromised. You get a free VPN with it too, so you can watch Netflix wherever you want. Family plan, it's a great deal. Highly recommend. Use my code.
Okay.
I don't have a code.
Oh, dang it. Chris,
One of these days.
what do you use, Chris, for a password?
I use iCloud Keychain.
Yep, that was going to be the other one. Native, built into Apple.
Awesome. Interesting stuff. Did you find anything on most maliciously downloaded cloud-based
And don't say it's the
sharing app?
YouTube album that got pushed to everybody's iTunes account.
WannaCry was a big one in 2017. That was a big malware breach.
Yeah, I guess maybe I'll do some digging to find some follow up on it because it'd be interesting to find like what you're saying is like was there like one encapsulated like in a Dropbox install or something like that. Be interesting.
I would be surprised if there weren't, but it seems like we would have heard about it too.
Yeah, and it might be called something like what Chris is saying. It might be been given a different name at this point.
So all that being said, of people downloading things and being all crazy with their Shadow IT, which we are going to have a white paper coming out shortly just on Shadow IT. So watch for that download. Let's talk a little bit about security, and the new approach is this layered security.
Do you have an onion?
I don't, but I have.
We don't have any visual aids.
I have a graphic.
Or a graphic.
An
We can-
onion would have been good because
It
we
would've
would have
been-
cried and maybe
if I need
made
to
like
cry.
a fajita or something afterwards.
Get a little hot plate in here, and
It's better than the rock'em sock'em.
next time what we'll do is we'll go to Benihana and we'll just have that like make in front of me while we record this.
Only if he flips like shrimp tails
Shrimp tails.
in your hat or in his hat, or
There we go.
set something on fire with a volcano and
Or
train.
the train. Choo choo choo. Yeah. Yeah. So security, like I say it a lot, and I probably say it way too much, to the point where people probably make fun of me after I leave a room. But I don't know.
Not about that.
There's plenty of other reasons. But yeah, security is all about layers. There's no one thing. There's no silver bullet. No whatever phrase you want to use that is going to block every type of security breach, security issue, or things like that. It's all about putting layers in place to protect you, and when one layer fails, there's another one there to hopefully catch it. So that could be preventative measures, that could be monitoring measures to know when something has happened. That's just as important as blocking it, because you need to know once it's happened so you can take the correct steps for remediation. But having the layers in place is the best way around it. So I mean, you can have a lot, you have antivirus, anti-malware, things like that. You have email security, you have intrusion detection and monitoring, you have security NS, you have, I mean, the list of different security tools that are out there now, and finding an effective package and layering those effectively is what we've been working on a lot in the last. We started this process probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, reevaluating our entire security stack that we use internally and for our customers. And so one of the things we started first was, the very front end of that, which was looking at antivirus and anti-malware, and what is our go-to solution going to be for that for our clients, and how does it work? What are the guarantees behind it? How impactful is it to your day-to-day life? Because you can do a full zero trust security platform, but that's very impactful to how you work every day, because every single thing has to be, every single thing has to be whitelisted in order for it to work. So you have to go step by step to do it. So we had to find something that was a good balance between all the security benefits while making it still usable. So that's kind of our whole goal, is finding security that works within the business workflow, that's not so hindering that it stops you from being able to do your day-to-day work, or cause you have to do a ton of tweaking and turning of the knobs to be able to get everything working just right. And so that's one layer of it. You have email security. So I know, and we'll incoming, you'll probably notice a theme here soon that we're heavy on security right now. But I saw a fact that 92% of all ransomware and phishing attacks come through email. So having something on your email is just as important as having malware on your computer, so you can stop it before it gets to the computer. Security NS, that's something that's great, that uses a proxy service to be able to make sure that when you click on something, it checks your DNS record before it sends you there to see if it's a malicious site or not. So you just get stopped from actually going there. So it's all about the amount of layers that you have in place. The more layers you have, the harder it's going to be for something to happen. But that's still not going to stop 100% of everything. If someone is persistent enough, they will be able to compromise you. And it's just really about putting enough layers in place that they get bored, or the tool that they have in place hadn't taken that layer into consideration, so it gets stopped at that point. But if they're, spoiler alert, if there's someone that is persistent enough or is targeting you directly, you can be compromised. And that's where then the monitoring of everything comes into place. So if you do get compromised, you're alerted that you're compromised, so you can take the correct steps for remediation and being able to clean it up and then patch whatever vulnerability that was. So we have plenty of tools that we can layer on top of each other, and we're constantly, looking in the future what's on the front end of the frontier on cybersecurity and things like that, and testing it, talking with our partners to figure out what are they doing, how are they protecting themselves. I mean, some of our partners that we use are billion-dollar companies that are taking the time to help us understand what we should be looking at for our clients as well. So spend a lot of time talking with individuals and corporations on how do we continue to take enterprise-grade solutions and bring them to our clients and our customers.
Because, Daniel said, if they get bored, but if it's a bot out there creating these things, bots don't get bored. They will just keep trying and trying and trying, and they will eventually find a way to get in. So the more layered security that you have, the more that you're up on top of alerts when they come in, the better off you're going to be. And it's just ever changing. I mean, these people that do malicious things are constantly evolving. And so that's why we stay up on all the latest, greatest software, because it's constantly evolving too. And, there have been some products I think that we've carried in years past that used to be the latest and greatest, and either they haven't kept up or there's something new and better. And so that's why we are constantly evaluating our vendors to make sure that we have the best in class for not only for our clients, but for us too.
Yeah, there's plenty of tools that we've dropped that because either their security practice was in place or they weren't keeping up with where the industry wanted them to be, or the demand and the companies needed them to be. And so we do an eval, we find out that it's not the right fit any longer, and we figure out how we do a migration or we move our clients from it, either piece by piece or all at once. So yeah, it's definitely it's an ever evolving landscape that we have to try and stay ahead of as best we can. And whenever a new attack comes out, there's some new patch or vulnerability that needs to be fixed or anything like that. And, we're always reading up on those. And we have, a few of us have emails every day coming out about different things that show up. So we do our best to stay as involved in that type of news category as we can, and figure out how it, what happened, how does it apply to us? Because we always, we take our medicine first. So we make sure that everything gets updated or added, or if we're bringing on a new security product, we enable it on ourselves, so that way we know how it works and we know any of the pitfalls that come out from it before we end up putting it out to clients. So it's fun because you get to try new things all the time, but it's also tedious in the fact that you're always having to look for what the next piece is.
And kind of reflecting back on what we talked about last week with the cybersecurity, a lot of this layered security plays into what cyber insurance companies are looking for. They're looking to make sure that they're covered on all of these different layers, and that they have the, I don't know the term for it, where they get alerted, like, oh, such and such was on the IP at 2 a.m, which is... It's a behavioral thing, not just like a specific thing. But if they know that Leanne has never logged in at 2 a.m, and all of a sudden there's a login that comes in, a little red flag comes up.
Yep. Yeah. So there's a couple different ways, different tools that'll do that. I mean, intrusion detection monitoring was probably the one that would be the most relatable, or the one that you hear about most often. There's SIEM monitoring for network security and things like that. But there's a lot of cool stuff with machine learning, or as both Google and Apple now have said in their keynote speech for their new devices, ML. So now you can call you can shorten machine learning officially to ML. So there's a lot of ML being applied to
AIs.
There's a lot of ML being applied to AI, so we can. But there's a lot in that industry with AI and machine learning to help understand what is the right behavior versus the wrong behavior, not just is something good or bad at that point. So just the intent analysis of something it plays a big part into it. Like you said, I mean, have you ever opened up PowerShell on your computer before?
No.
Okay. It would be kind of weird if all of a sudden you start opening up PowerShell and running a whole bunch of commands, right? So if it could trigger off of knowing that, that's something that is a pretty cool improvement in how, malicious activity is detected.
And it's, circling back to what Daniel said earlier, it is complicated, and not the same stack works for everyone. Yeah. And it doesn't matter if you're a 2-person shop, a 2,000-person shop. Trying to manage this is daunting for an IT department. So sometimes, we get asked to be consultants on something, which, we're happy to do, to see what the best stack is and how they can implement it, whether or not they buy anything from us or not.
Yep.
But it's important that you stay covered, because if something does happen and it does infiltrate your system and you have loss of data or downtime, that just rolls into a whole nother thing, which we also offer, which is disaster recovery plans, data, for your data, for your files. And this is not necessarily if you're held for ransomware, but just any kind of...
Just any sort of data loss, right?
Yeah.
I mean, could be if you're a single person company and you have everything stored on your laptop and you drop it and break it, or the hard drive crashes or something like that. That's just as detrimental if it had gotten hit with ransomware. If you don't have backups in place, you could have had all of the front end pieces, but if you don't have the back end of backups and the redundancies in place, you could have prevented everything, but you know, your business or your day-to-day work was taken out by a hard drive failing, which is, you know, out of most people's control. I can't smell when a hard drive's about to fail.
Or when I'm going to drop my laptop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it's not just a pain when that happens. I mean, there's serious downtime and dollars lost in business. And even if it is some kind of malware attack, ransomware, whatever, where your cyber insurance does pay off, there's a cap to that, as we mentioned last week, and it hardly ever covers what you might be losing revenue-wise if your assembly line is down or if...
Yeah. I was working on a insurance claim recently that actually asked for not just revenue of an organization, but like their actual profit on the form to their insurance, which I thought was interesting because I assume that the insurance company is trying to weigh out, you know, the claim of loss of productivity. Most of the time, you know, if you're the company, you're going to claim top line revenue as the amount of loss, right? Okay, well, we do about $10 a day in revenue, but if your profit's only $1, the insurance company might be trying to now say, well, actually, we're only going to pay you out $2 because your profit's this. And, you know, I don't know. It was an interesting question. It was the first time I'd seen that on a form. So it got me thinking on how are they going to use that data to try and figure out how much they will actually pay out. So
because it's going to be their advantage, right?
Yeah.
You know that,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
Why
yeah.
else would they
Yeah.
have it on there if it
Yep.
weren't?
There's a reason it's on there, and it's probably not to give you more money.
So we will have some of these articles in our newsletter next week. And then, again, we're going to roll into next week talking more in depth about passwords, vulnerability coming in through that way, and email security. A couple of things that I've read this week, too, that the percentage of people of malicious things coming in through email was shocking to me.
Yeah.
And if you're like,
Yeah.
I'd say any business person, I mean, my email box, I mean, you get hundreds a day, and most of the time mine's, you know, junk and it's just delete or unsubscribe or whatever. But then you get shoot, I'm drawing a blank of where it looks like it's coming from you, but it's...
Oh, spear phishing?
Yeah, spear phishing. And I'm like, oh, that's odd that Daniel would be asking for, you know...
$5,000 in
this
Target gift cards.
password, or, yeah, hey, I've got this gift card, you know, so
Yeah.
it's just odd how everything comes in that way. So anyway, that's going to be it for the show this week,
Yep.
unless you have anything to add.
Nope, I don't have anything. Oh, I just want an onion next week.
An onion, okay, and
Right.
maybe a hot plate.
I don't know if we need to go there. I just want to cut it in half.
Cut it in half and
live on
say,
stream.
This is your layered security, right?
Layer 1, layer 2. Yep.
Maybe we'll have a better graphic next week too.
I don't know. Well, it'll probably get lost on the editing room floor next week by the time we get here.
By
but
Chris, he cuts all the good stuff.
that he does.
Thanks for joining us
Thank
today,
you.
and we'll see you next week.